welcome to your HTML and CSS crash course. In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about media query. Now, media query is a CSS term used for making your website or project responsive on any device, be it a mobile device, a laptop screen, a medium screen like iPads, or a large screen like desktops. Okay, so now we're just going to create a div or h1. Just create a h1. And this is going to have a class of title, and over here I would say this is the main title. Now go over here also and type in h2 and give it the class of subtitle. Just save this and go to your CSS. Okay, so we're going to grab the body and give this a color of red, and we're also going to grab the title and give it a subcolor, font size of 6, or let's say 7 rem. 7 rem should be good. Now we're going to give the subtitle a font size also of, let's say, 3 rem. Just let's save this, go to your HTML, okay, and open this with live server. Okay, so you can see the two text we have. So we have the title and the subtitle. And now I'm just going to show you how you can use your developer tool. So when you click inspect, so in order for you to check how your media query works, you click inspect, you right click, then select inspect, which has a short code for Ctrl+Shift+I, as you can see over here. Then when you click this, it should open a new tab for you over here. So this is what we use to inspect, okay, to check your work. And if you're using like a backend language and you want to check if there are any errors, you go over to the console. But for this tutorial, we're just checking the responsiveness. So select this toggle device toolbar. Okay, so now when we select this, you can see the different screen sizes we have here. So there's an iPad, iPad Pro, iPhone X, iPhone 7, and so on. Okay, so we're just going to select let's say an iPhone X, or let's leave it as responsive and make this have a width of 5 or 600. So go over here and type in 600. Okay, so now we want to make this responsive. This text, we want to make it responsive. So how do we do that? Head over to your CSS, and there's something called the media query. Okay, that's what we're going to use in our CSS. So how do we use that? We simply start by typing in @media. Okay, and if you want to select all the screens, so for printing, for large devices, you simply type in all. Okay, and you add the maximum width for what you want to select. So we're going to add a max width of 500 pixels, and when it has a maximum width of 500 pixels, we want something to change, which is the body color. So select the body and change the color over here. Let's change this to aqua. So save this and go to your browser, and when we decrease this the width of this screen size, when we decrease it to 500, you should see that the text color changes from red to blue. But when it increases Okay, when it goes above 500, you can see it changes back to red, but when it's below 500, it changes to red, but when it's below 500, it changes to aqua. So you can also select the width. So go over here and type in title, and you can decrease the font size over here by saying you want this to be 5 rem, and you also want the subtitle to be, let's say, 2 rem. To go back to your browser. Okay, so when it's above 500, you can see the text is really big, and when it's below 500, you can see the color changes alongside the font size. So this can also take in other values, so it's not just maximum value. So you can set the minimum value also. So once it's above a certain width, there's going to be a change in the CSS, in the style. So what if we want to select something called the orientation? Okay, either landscape or portrait. How do we do that? Okay, so you head over to your CSS, and we're just going to, okay, we can leave this. So you say at media, and we're going to open a bracket and say your orientation, and we want this in landscape. Okay, so now we want this in landscape, and we want it to be landscape or. So this is where your statements come to use. Okay, come to practice. Landscape or max width is 500 pixels. So let's select the title, and we want to change the color of this to, let's say, green. Okay, so let's see how it works. Okay, so it's below 500 and it's in landscape. So essentially landscape is, let's select landscape. Okay, so you see it's practically. So landscape is when you have a larger width than height. Okay, so let's say this should be 300. Okay, so when we increase this, you see we set the term and condition for this. We said when it's on 500 pixels or on landscape mode. That's why this color appears on the browser. So what if we made it an AND statement? An AND statement. Okay, so simply type in AND. So we're saying when it's on landscape mode and 500 pixels, when the max width is 500 pixels and it's on landscape mode, that's where we want this style to be functional. If not, it's not going to work at all. So now it's on landscape mode, but the width is what? Is 600 pixels. So when we reduce the screen size, the width of the browser, you can see it's on 500 pixels and it works perfectly. So what if we increase the height also? You can see the style changes because it's now on portrait mode, not landscape anymore. So now you should know the difference between landscape and portrait. So you can see the conditional statement said if it's on landscape mode and the max width is 500 pixels, we want the text color to change from red to green, and also the previous media query will still be functional because the media query for the first one was that the max width should be 500 pixels, and we also decreased the font size of both texts. So what if we want to select the portrait mode? So go over here and say add media orientation portrait. So we didn't set any other condition for this. The only condition it has to be remote in portrait mode. Now let's grab the subtitle and change this from red to, let's say, yellow. Okay, so now we set the condition to be in what? To be in portrait. So in portrait we need to have a higher height than the width. Okay, the height needs to be longer than the width. So when we increase the height, you can see that the subtitle text changes from what? From aqua to yellow. So you can see changes from aqua to yellow. So when we increase the width, you can see it changes back to red. Okay, so now when it's on 500 and this is on, let's say, 600, or let's say 400, okay, so you can see the first condition has been applied. Okay, let's go over it gently. So the first media query has been applied because we set the max width for this to be 500 pixels. So you can see that the maximum width here is what? 494. So that's affected the subtitle text, which changed from red to aqua. Then the title also changed from red to aqua, but we set a condition for this. We said at media query, we want when it's on landscape mode and it has a maximum width of 500, we want the titled color to change to green. So that's why this is no longer aqua, which is the H1. That's why the H1 is no longer aqua but green, because we set a condition that when it's below 500 pixels and on landscape mode, we want the color to change from what? To change from aqua, to change from red to green. Okay, now when we increase the height, you can see that it's no longer on landscape mode, so it changes from green back to aqua, which is the title, changes from green back to aqua. Then the subtitle changes from aqua to yellow. So basically that's how to use media query. You can use media query for different elements such as your box shadow, your effects, your transitions, your the size of your image, so much which you can do with your media query, which we'll be learning as we're building different projects. So that'll be all for this tutorial. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next